Aaron Vale liked mornings when nothing unexpected happened. When Imberfall's twin suns were still low, the mist hung over the salvage yard, and the loudest sound was an old generator coughing itself awake. He was buried up to his shoulders inside a scorched conduit, muttering about engineers who clearly hated human wrists, when the universe made a sound he hadn't heard in 4 years. A low, resonant hum. Thick, heavy, wrong. A ship engine, yes. But not a trader, not a colonial shuttle, not anything that belonged on a forgotten frontier world. This sound vibrated through the metal flooring, through the dirt, through Aaron's ribs, a warship. He slid out from under the panel so fast he banged his knee, hissed in pain, then limped outside. Because when a Karatha-level engine screams your name, the smart choice is to at least see what's about to kill you. The sky was darkened by shadow. A vessel descended silently, vast and obsidian black, its hull etched in luminous patterns that shifted like living veins beneath armor. Each pulse of violet light felt sentient, predatory. The ship moved with the grace of a hunting drone and the weight of a god. This was the kind of vessel that didn't visit colonies. It judged them. Aaron's mouth went dry. Oh, fantastic, I'm dead. When the ship touched down, the ground tremored softly, almost respectfully. A ramp extended with ceremonial precision. Aaron had just enough time to consider sprinting into the wilderness and living there forever. Before she walked out tall, stunning, terrifying, her presence warped the air around her. She moved with the impossible fluidity of someone who'd spent her life dancing between life and death. Her armor looked grown rather than built, seamless plates shifting soft iridescence as though reflecting starlight only she could see. Silver hair braided tightly down her back revealed long, backward-swept Karathi ears, slender, elegant, unmistakable. And her eyes, molten violet and gold glowing faintly. Not warm, not cold, just vast. She was the most beautiful, dangerous being Aaron had ever seen, and she was walking directly toward him. "Aaron Vale," she said. The sound of her voice was wrong for her appearance, soft, clear, controlled. But it carried an authority that made answering feel less like a choice and more like a physical instinct. Aaron blinked. You know my name." She stopped 1 perfect meter away, close enough for him to see faint luminescent sigils along her cheeks, Karathi lineage markings. They pulsed softly with her heartbeat. 4 years ago, she said, you performed a rescue extraction in the Gyra Rift. A civilian cruiser collapsing inside a gravitational anomaly. 3 escape pods retrieved. Aaron's brain tried to catch up. I remember the job, one of the nastiest runs I ever took. Why? One of those pods contained me. His mouth opened, closed, nothing useful came out. She continued before he could embarrass himself further. I am Lyria Kethris, she said. Shadowblade of the Karathi Dominion, heir to the War Council, commander of the Obsidian Echelon. Aaron's heart stopped, started again way too fast. You're the Shadowblade, he whispered. Yes. And you're here because... Lyria stepped closer, not threatening but undeniably overwhelming. Because the codes of my people dictate that a Karathi warrior saved from certain death owes a life debt that can only be repaid through service. Until the balance is restored, I am bound to you. Aaron stared at her like she just told him gravity was optional. You crossed the galaxy for a debt. Yes, that's insane. That is honor. I didn't even know you were in that pod. Your ignorance does not negate the bond. This is no offense, absurd. I fix salvage, I don't do interstellar destiny stuff. Whether you accept destiny, she said calmly, is irrelevant. It has accepted you. He ran both hands through his hair, trying not to scream into the sky. That was when the loudspeaker blared. Vale. Colonial Marshal Mara Devon's voice boomed with the fury of a woman who had absolutely not planned for this today. Step away from the death goddess and get into my office right now. Aaron muttered, War goddess, death goddess. Can we at least pick one branding? Devon marched toward them like a force of nature. Shadowblade Kethris, she said sharply. Do not vaporize anything. I do not vaporize things randomly, Lyria said, mildly insulted. Good, because my headaches can't take that today. She grabbed Aaron's arm without ceremony. Office now. Lyria watched silently, those impossible eyes following him with a focus that felt like gravity, pulling inescapable. Aaron stumbled after the marshal, pulse hammering, mind spinning. He had no idea what life debt rituals meant. No idea why he of all people had been dragged into Karathi tradition. No idea. Marshal Mara Devon's office looked like someone had taken a prefabricated storage crate, shoved paperwork into every corner, and declared it a government facility. Aaron had always found it mildly depressing. Today, it felt like the last quiet room he'd ever set foot in. Devon slammed the door shut behind them. "Vale," she said, pacing like a caged animal, "tell me you didn't just bond yourself to a Karathi war icon." "I didn't bond anything," Aaron protested. "She said I saved her life, and suddenly my Tuesday turned into a diplomatic meltdown." Devon slapped a datapad onto the desk with a force that made it whine. "Do you know who Lyria Kethris is?" "She told me, Shadowblade, commander, some kind of cosmic sword princess." "She is," Devon interrupted, "the Karathi equivalent of a myth. Children grow up hearing about her campaigns. Soldiers train using her battle footage. Entire systems surrendered the moment she stepped onto the battlefield." Aaron sank into a chair. "So, not a normal visitor then?" Devon stared at him with the dead eyes of someone internally screaming. "She has an empire-spanning reputation and enough political weight to collapse this colony by accident, and she just declared a life debt to you. I didn't ask her to." "She doesn't care what you asked." Devon threw her arms up. "Karathi life debts are binding, sacred, and extremely violently controversial." Aaron frowned. "Controversial how?" "To their enemies, it's weakness." Devon leaned in, lowering her voice. "To their rivals, it's leverage. To their council, it's a political earthquake." Aaron swallowed, "And to me." "Nightmare," Devon said flatly. Aaron groaned. Devon pulled up a holographic file. Lines of Karathi script glowed crimson. Life debt statutes, ancient rituals, consequences. "According to their law," she said, "a warrior whose life is saved must bind themselves to the savior until balance is restored. That could mean years, decades, maybe longer. That's insane. That is culture, and culture doesn't care about your opinion." Aaron rubbed his face. "Okay, so what do we do?" "You refuse," she said immediately. "Publicly, clearly, immediately." "What happens to her if I do?" Devon hesitated. "To her. A beat, it would destroy her career. Possibly brand her as dishonorable, might even get her exiled." Aaron winced. "Exiled for trying to repay someone who saved her life." "Yes, the Karathi don't do nuance. They do honor, blood, and ancient rules that make zero logical sense to anyone with a functioning brain. So she traveled across the galaxy to repay something, and refusing her would ruin her life." Aaron shook his head. "That seems unfair." "Welcome to diplomacy," Devon muttered. She paced in circles again. "You need to think carefully. If you accept this bond, even temporarily, you're effectively stepping into Karathi political warfare. Every rival she has now has a perfect target, you." Aaron's stomach dropped. "Why me?" "Because killing the debtor dissolves the debt, and they want her weakened." Aaron stared at the wall, suddenly feeling the weight of Lyria's gaze even from outside. "What if I don't refuse?" he asked quietly. Devon stopped pacing. "Then you're tethered to a walking weapons system who's chased you for 4 years, and the entire Karathi warrior caste will eventually come knocking to figure out why she chose you." Aaron exhaled. He wasn't stupid. His brain might be melting, but he understood enough. If he refused, she would be disgraced. If he accepted, he would be hunted. "Great choices," he muttered. "Perfect. Wonderful." Devon opened her mouth, probably to deliver another terrifying briefing, but Aaron stood abruptly. "I need to talk to her." "Vale, no, I need to hear it from her." Devon sighed the sigh of someone adding 10 years to her retirement plan. "Fine, but don't make any promises, and don't let her perform any rituals. If she offers you anything sharp, don't touch it." Aaron stepped outside. Lyria stood exactly where they'd left her, posture flawless, eyes fixed on his workshop like she was guarding an ancient shrine. She turned toward him the moment he approached. "The marshal explained the situation?" she asked. "Yeah," Aaron said, "she did. And she advised you to refuse the debt." "She did." Lyria nodded once. No anger, no offense. Just quiet acceptance. "It is a practical suggestion," she said softly. "Refusing would protect you. I would accept your decision." Aaron studied her. This legendary warrior, someone who commanded fleets and terrified empires, looked uncertain. "You spent 4 years finding me," Aaron said. "That doesn't sound like someone who'd be fine with me refusing." A flicker crossed her eyes, so fast anyone else might have missed it. "I searched," she said, "because the debt is real. Because you saved my life when I had accepted death. Because honor demanded acknowledgement." She paused. "But I will not allow you to suffer consequences for my oath." Aaron's chest tightened. He didn't know what he expected. Arrogance, maybe. Intimidation, entitlement, but not this. This fierce, quiet sincerity. "What happens to you if I refuse?" he asked. Lyria looked away for the first time since landing. "Shame," she said, "disgrace, loss of command. Perhaps exile, depending how my rivals spin it." Aaron felt something inside him twist painfully. "And you still came anyway." Aaron's workshop wasn't designed for royalty, war legends, or anyone taller than 6 feet, which meant Lyria Kethris had to duck under the doorframe. Somehow even that motion looked dignified, like a mythical creature politely folding its wings before entering a cottage. She perched on a cargo crate with perfect military posture, as if even gravity obeyed her discipline. Aaron sat on his usual battered chair, feeling like a smear of engine grease in comparison. For a moment, neither spoke. Lyria's gaze drifted around the workshop, the tools, the hanging wires, the half-finished repairs. There was no judgment in her expression, only curiosity, and something softer, harder to name. Finally, Aaron cleared his throat. "You said you were almost grateful when your cruiser was collapsing. What did you mean by that?" Lyria didn't flinch, she didn't hide. Karathi didn't believe in hiding. "When I boarded that transport," she said quietly, "I believed myself unworthy of survival." Aaron's breath caught. She folded her hands, armored fingers interlocking. "My unit had been deployed to protect a civilian station in Kayan space. A political border dispute had turned violent. We arrived too late. The station's hull had already failed." Her voice didn't waver, but there was a weight in it, a gravity deeper than any anomaly. 1,700 civilians, she said. "Gone within minutes. We extracted the survivors, but it was paltry. Insufficient. My commanders called it a failure." Aaron exhaled slowly. "That wasn't your fault." "In war," she said, "fault and responsibility are not the same. I was not fast enough, not decisive enough, not strong enough. And because of that, many lives ended." She lifted her gaze, violet gold eyes glowing faintly in the workshop's dim light. "When the cruiser's gravitational drive failed on the return route, when the anomaly began collapsing around us, I felt relief. A solution to my dishonor, a balance for the lives I had failed to protect." Aaron felt a sharp twist in his chest. "You wanted to die. I believed it appropriate." The honesty of it hit him harder than any weapon. "But someone," she continued, "piloted through spatial distortions that should have torn their craft apart. Someone ignored every survival instinct to retrieve 3 escape pods before the ship was lost." Her eyes locked onto his. "You." Aaron swallowed, throat suddenly tight. "I didn't know any of that," he said. "I just grabbed the pods closest to my ship. I didn't choose who lived, didn't have the luxury." "That is precisely why it matters," Lyria said. "You saved lives without knowing whose they were. Without expectation, without calculation. That is rare, even among my people." Aaron looked away, staring at the floor, suddenly uncomfortable in his own skin. "I also left pods behind," he whispered. "Pods I didn't have time to reach. I think about them more than the ones I saved." Lyria studied him, really studied him, with the focus of a woman who'd spent her life analyzing battles, not hearts. "You carry the same weight I do," she said softly. "The difference is that you call it guilt, I call it honor. But both come from caring for those we could not protect." Aaron didn't know what to say. In the quiet that followed, the workshop seemed smaller, warmer, charged. Lyria stood and moved toward the dusty window overlooking the salvage yard. Light from Imberfall's twin suns filtered through the haze, casting her silhouette in gold and violet. "After the rescue," she said, "I learned your name, then I learned you had vanished. No forwarding address, no records, only fragments." "Didn't mean to vanish," Aaron muttered. "Just needed a break from the universe." "Yet the universe did not take a break from you," she said. He chuckled bitterly. "Clearly." Lyria turned from the window. "There is another reason I searched for you." Aaron lifted his head. "After the station disaster," she said, "I began to forget why warriors exist, not for conquest, not for glory, but for lives, for moments when we stand between death and those who cannot fight it." Her voice lowered. "You reminded me. A human salvager with no obligation restored something I had lost, purpose." Aaron stared at her, stunned by the vulnerability beneath the armor. "You're not what I expected," he said. "Nor are you," she replied. They stood in silence again, but not an uncomfortable one. It was charged, soft, sharp-edged, a moment where the air knew something important was forming. Then the workshop lights flickered, once, twice. A shrill alarm screamed from Aaron's security console, the kind of alert that usually meant run or pray. The comm crackled with Marshal Devon's voice, hard and fast. Vale, Kethris, listen carefully. 3 Karathi warships just dropped out of hyperspace. Military class, broadcasting challenge codes. Aaron's stomach crashed into the floor. Lyria's expression shifted instantly. Gone was the quiet softness. Gone was the vulnerability. The warrior returned, sharp, lethal, impossibly focused. My rivals, she said, faster than expected. Aaron jolted. Rivals for what? For power, for reputation, for ensuring I never return home with honor. Her armor plates shimmered, sealing into combat state. They come to challenge my bond, she said, to eliminate you before it can be formalized. Aaron's pulse roared in his ears. They're coming to kill me. Yes, she said simply. And you're just, what, expected to fight them alone? It is the way of my people. Well, Aaron said, grabbing the nearest tool that looked vaguely threatening. That's stupid. Lyria blinked, thrown. Stupid, he repeated firmly. You don't face 3 people alone, Karathi or not. It is tradition. Tradition can kiss my. The alarm shrieked louder, lights turning crimson. The ships had entered atmosphere. Lyria turned toward the door. Stay inside, she ordered. If you fall, the bond dissolves. They will exploit that. Aaron looked at her, looked at the warrior who crossed the galaxy for him. The woman who believed her life should have ended. The person who found meaning again because of him. No, he said. I'm done running from the universe. Lyria's eyes widened just slightly. Aaron Vale, she whispered, you cannot. Too late, he said. I'm already involved. The ground trembled beneath Aaron's boots as 3 Karathi warships descended from the sky in perfect formation. Their hulls glowed with molten lines of power, each vessel humming like a predator ready to strike. Emberfall's dust spiraled upward, drawn into the gravitational fields of the approaching ships. Lyria stood beside him, tall, still, deadly calm. Aaron tried to mirror her posture. He failed instantly. The warships landed with synchronized precision. Ramps extended with military formality, 3 spears touching the earth. And then the warriors emerged. The first was massive. 7 feet tall, armor layered in dark crimson plates etched with kill marks so numerous they looked like scars. His presence hit Aaron like a physical weight. The second was slender and fast-looking, silver armor shaped like interlocking blades, movements fluid enough to feel choreographed. Her eyes were pale blue and utterly disinterested in his humanity. The third was older. His armor was worn, etched with deep scars. His posture was relaxed but carried an authority that made the other 2 defer instinctively. They approached in a slow, deliberate line. Lyria stepped forward, posture shifting into ceremonial command. Varkesh, Selun, Torath, she said, naming them with warrior respect. You honor me with your presence. The oldest Torath inclined his head. Lyria Kethris, shadow blade of the Dominion. He turned slightly, gaze falling on Aaron. And this is your claimed debtor. Aaron resisted the urge to hide behind Lyria like a terrified child. He lifted his chin instead. Name, Aaron Vale, Torath said, voice like grinding stone. Occupation, salvager. Combat record, non-existent. Status, untrained civilian. Accurate, Aaron muttered. Varkesh, the massive one, let out a low laugh. This is the human who rescued you? This soft creature, he looks as though a stiff breeze would snap him. Aaron opened his mouth to retort, then realized Varkesh's thigh muscle was roughly the size of his torso, and wisely closed it again. Selun stepped in a slow circle around Aaron, appraising him like one might examine a defective tool. No combat scars, she observed. No military implants, no honor markings. You bound yourself to a creature who has never even knelt on a battlefield. Have you fallen so low, Lyria? Lyria didn't react, but Aaron felt the air around her tighten like a blade being drawn. The debt is valid, she said evenly. He saved my life. Accidentally, Selun countered. Without expectation, Lyria shot back. Without calculation, that is the purest form of honor. Varkesh stepped closer, towering over Aaron. You, he said, do you know the obligations of a Karathi life debt? Can you recite the Creed of Balance? Can you wield a blade without cutting off your own hand? Aaron took a breath. No, he admitted, to all of that. Varkesh smirked triumphantly. But, Aaron continued, louder now, I know she spent 4 years searching for me because my life mattered to her. I know you're all terrified of what that means. The smirk vanished. Selun's eyes sharpened. Torath tilted his head, intrigued. You speak boldly for someone with no training, Selun said. That's because I'm right, Aaron said, pulse pounding. You're not here for tradition. You're here because Lyria challenged your broken system just by deciding my life had value. The silence that followed was lethal. Even Lyria turned her head slightly, as if seeing Aaron anew. Aaron swallowed but forced himself to continue. "You three don't fear me," he said. "You fear what I represent, choice, change, and the idea that maybe your rigid hierarchy isn't as solid as you pretend." Varkesh took a step forward, but Toreth lifted a hand. "Enough," the elder said. "Lyria knows the cost of such claims, and so do we." He faced her fully now. "You must dissolve this debt. That is the logical choice." "No," Lyria said, voice steady as steel. "Then you force our hand," Selûne replied. "If we eliminate the debtor before the bond is sealed, the obligation dissolves. You will return home shamed, weakened. That is our intention." Aaron tensed. His grip tightened on the useless metal bar he was holding. Lyria stepped forward, placing herself completely between him and the three warriors. "You will not touch him," she said. "And who will stop us?" Varkesh rumbled. "You alone." "I stand by tradition," Lyria said, "as must you." Selûne smiled coldly. "Then face us." Before she could take another step, a thunderous, amplified voice boomed across the yard. "HFY warriors, this is human colonial authority." Marshal Devon's voice, loud, angry, terrifying. "Any ACT of violence against a colonial resident violates interstellar treaty. Defense grid is active. You are all targeted." Varkesh snarled. Selûne hissed something in Karathi. Toreth simply exhaled. "This complicates matters." Aaron forced a shaky grin. "Welcome to Imberfall." The tension reached a knife-thin peak, and then Lyria did something none of them expected. Slowly, deliberately, she drew a blade from her armor. Not a weapon, something ceremonial, something sacred. She turned, holding it horizontally with both hands, and extended it toward Aaron. Aaron froze, the warriors froze. Even the air seemed to stop. Lyria's voice carried like a vow carved into stone. "Aaron Vale," she said, "I offer you my blade." Toreth inhaled sharply. Selûne's eyes widened. Varkesh actually stepped back. Lyria continued. "In Karathi culture, this offering is more than debt, more than gratitude. It is equality, partnership, shared fate. If you accept this blade, you become my equal in all things. Your battles are mine. My honor is yours, our lives intertwined." Her eyes were steady, bright, unflinching. "Will you accept?" Aaron stared at the blade, then at her, then at the warriors whose hands had drifted to their weapons. His heart felt like a star collapsing. Accepting meant danger. Accepting meant being hunted. Accepting meant stepping into a world he didn't understand. But refusing would destroy her, slowly, deliberately. Aaron reached out and wrapped his hands around the blade. The world seemed to inhale in shock. Lyria closed her eyes. For the first time since Aaron arrived on Imberfall, his salvage yard no longer felt like a place where broken things came to die. It felt like a training ground, a battlefield, a home in the middle of a brewing storm. Lyria moved her warship into a defensive position overlooking the yard. Advanced Karathi shielding systems hummed faintly in the dust-filled air. She installed perimeter sensors Aaron couldn't even name, and she trained him. Oh stars, she trained him. The first morning began before dawn. "Your stance is incorrect," Lyria said calmly while Aaron tried not to pass out. "I don't think humans are supposed to bend this way." "Then your species must adapt." "Adapt, my spine is negotiating surrender." She paused, studying him with a mix of confusion and amusement he'd come to recognize as her version of a smile. "Your humor is inefficient," she said, "but strangely effective for morale." That's one way to describe screaming internally. Her lips twitched barely, but enough that Aaron felt like he had just accomplished something monumental. Training became a rhythm. Mornings, combat drills, blade forms, tactical analysis. Endless bruises. Afternoons, maintaining equipment together, her upgrading his tools, him teaching her to swear creatively at malfunctioning machinery. Evenings, cultural lessons, Karathi honor verses, warrior codes, ancient rites. And in return, Aaron introduced her to human customs. Handshakes, sarcasm, hot tea, the concept of taking a break. Lyria found most of these baffling. "You rest," she said once, watching Aaron collapse onto a crate, "more often than any warrior I have met." "That's because humans know the secrets of survival." "Which are?" He took a slow sip of tea, not dying. She stared at him, then to his shock, she laughed. It wasn't a loud laugh, it wasn't even a full smile. It was soft, like something cracking open inside armor, and Aaron felt something shift in his chest when he heard it. But the days weren't only laughter and bruises. They also brought conversations neither of them expected. One night after a particularly brutal training session, Aaron found her sitting on the roof of his workshop, knees drawn up, staring at Imberfall's twin moons. He climbed up quietly. "You're thinking," he said. Karathi didn't startle, but she paused, barely perceptible. "This bond," she said softly, "it changes more than I anticipated." "How?" She looked at him, her eyes catching moonlight like molten metal. "I expected obedience from a debtor, respect, distance. Instead, I have found partnership, challenge, trust." Aaron felt warmth spread through his chest. "I guess humans are weird like that." "You are," she agreed. "Frustrating, illogical. Persistent but honorable." She turned away again. In Karathi culture, blade bonds are deeper than marriage. They are rarely formed, even more rarely offered. "Does it bother you," he asked carefully, "that you offered it to someone like me?" Lyria closed her eyes. "No," she whispered. "It frightens me how little it bothers me." Aaron didn't know what to say. So he sat beside her, letting the quiet settle between them like another layer of truth. As the days passed, Aaron grew stronger. Faster, more confident. Not a warrior, never that, but something sharper, steadier. Lyria became gentler, warmer, more human than she'd ever allow herself to admit. They developed routines, private jokes. Moments too soft to name. Marshal Devon stopped by weekly with new paperwork, new warnings, new headaches. "This bond is becoming a political drama with fan mail," she said once, dumping a stack of encrypted messages onto Aaron's table. "Karathi youngsters are calling you the human who shook the blade. Humans are calling her the silver eclipse. I hate all of it." Aaron tried not to look proud. Lyria pretended not to be pleased. Both failed. But even as laughter returned to the salvage yard, the shadow of the deadline loomed larger. Day 17, Aaron learned to counter Selun's fluid strike pattern. Day 28, Lyria admitted she liked his tea. Only once. Only in a whisper. Day 41, he caught her humming a battle hymn while repairing a generator. Day 52, they stood too close, didn't step back, neither mentioned it. Day 59, Aaron couldn't sleep. Lyria didn't either. They spoke quietly until dawn, and then, Day 60 arrived, clear sky, cold wind, silence too deep for morning. Aaron stood in the salvage yard, blade at his side, feeling adrenaline coil under his skin like a second heartbeat. Lyria adjusted his stance, placing her hands lightly on his shoulders. "You are ready," she said. "No, I'm not." "No," she agreed softly. "You are not, but you are willing, and that matters more." He swallowed hard. "Do you ever get scared?" He asked, her eyes softened. "Yes," she admitted, now more than ever. Aaron looked at her, tall, beautiful, deadly, the woman who had crossed galaxies, the warrior who had chosen him. "I'm glad it's you," he said quietly. Lyria's breath hitched. Then she stepped back. "Steel yourself, Aaron Vale," she said. "Our rivals arrive." He heard the humming first, deep, growing, familiar. 3 Karathi warships broke through the sky, just as they had 60 days before. But everything was different now. Aaron wasn't a terrified salvager anymore. Lyria wasn't alone anymore. And the bond between them wasn't just duty, it was something stronger, something real. The salvage yard felt different on the 60th day. Quieter, heavier. As if Imberfall itself understood that history was about to be written on this dusty patch of land. Aaron stood tall beside Lyria, blade in hand, heart pounding not with fear anymore, but with something steadier. Resolve, 3 Karathi warships lowered from the sky like silent predators. Their engines pulsed with ceremonial rhythm. Ramps extended in perfect unison. Varkesh, Selun, Torath. They approached with the same precision Aaron remembered, yet he no longer felt small beneath their gaze. Torath, as eldest, spoke first. "Aaron Vale," he said, voice deep as shifting stone. 60 days have passed since the blade bond was formed. We now test its authenticity. Do you stand willingly?" Aaron inhaled once, slow and steady. "I do." His voice didn't shake. He felt Lyria glance at him, a flicker of pride shining through her controlled expression. Torath nodded. "Then we begin. The questions of honor." Selun stepped forward, her silver armor reflecting the morning light. "Recite the warrior's creed in Karathi," she commanded. Aaron lifted his chin. He spoke. His accent was terrible. His inflection wobbled, but he didn't miss a single verse. The warriors exchanged glances, surprised ones. Selun continued, voice cool. "Second question. If your blade-bonded partner disgraces herself in war, what must you do?" Aaron didn't hesitate. Investigate, understand context, trust her judgment. A true bond isn't severed by first appearances. Varkesh snorted, spoken like someone who has never seen dishonor. Aaron's eyes hardened. "No." spoken like someone who understands that people aren't perfect, and that loyalty means standing beside them anyway. Even Torath's stern expression softened at that. Selûne stepped back. "Final question," she said. "An enemy forces you to choose, your life or her honor, which do you protect?" Aaron laughed once, quiet, sharp. "Neither," he said. "We find a third option because that's what partners do." Lyria's breath caught, a small, involuntary sound. Torath's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Interesting," he murmured. "Very interesting." "The combat test. Demonstration," Torath announced. "Non-lethal, Warrior Selûne will assess your ability to defend yourself." Aaron nearly swallowed his tongue. "Wait, Selûne, the professional death machine." Selûne drew her blade with liquid grace. Lyria leaned toward him, whispering, "Remember what I taught you." "Like which part? The one where I block without losing fingers, or the one where I stay alive?" "Both." Then Selûne attacked. Fast, too fast. Aaron barely parried the first strike, the impact rattling up his arms. Selûne moved around him like water with knives in it, testing balance, reaction, adaptability. Aaron didn't try to win. Lyria had drilled that into him. Winning wasn't the point. Surviving was. He blocked, retreated, dodged. Tried not to die, used every ounce of what he had learned. Selûne swept in for a finishing move. Aaron recognized the pattern, ducked low, shifted sideways, and used her own momentum to force distance. Selûne blinked, then smiled. "A real one?" "Again," she said. They clashed 2 more times, controlled, ritualistic, precise. Finally, Torath raised his hand. "Enough." Aaron stepped back, panting, arms shaking but still standing. Lyria's face was unreadable, but her eyes burned with quiet pride. The verdict. The 3 warriors conferred in rapid Karathi, voices clipped and ceremonial. Aaron didn't understand most of it, but he understood the tension. Finally, Torath turned toward them. "Aaron Vale," he declared, "you have demonstrated comprehension of our traditions, sufficient combat adaptability, and a bond with Lyria Kithris that is unquestionably genuine." Aaron felt his knees weaken from relief. Varkesh stepped forward, looming. "You are still human," he growled. "Still small, still weak by warrior standards, but you fight when it matters, that is enough." Selûne sheathed her blade. "And you think with creativity," she said. "A rare trait among our caste, you may yet survive challenges." Then Torath spoke the words that changed everything. "The blade bond is recognized." A soft wind swept through the salvage yard. Lyria exhaled barely, but enough that Aaron heard it. Varkesh, Selûne, and Torath turned and headed back toward their ships, but Torath paused once more. "Lyria," he said, "this bond will reshape our people. Some will resist. Some will follow, but you have chosen your path. See that you walk it boldly." Lyria bowed her head solemn. "I will." The warriors departed, the warships lifted, silence fell, and the world changed. After the storm, Marshal Devon appeared moments later, trudging across the yard with the energy of someone both furious and impressed. "Well," she said, hands on hips, "you're officially a diplomatic nightmare recognized by alien law. Congratulations. I'm sure I'll be filling out paperwork until I'm ancient." Aaron managed a tired grin. "Thanks." Devon sighed and walked away muttering about treaties, sanctions, and early retirement. The moment she was gone, Aaron turned to Lyria. She stood in her ceremonial armor, silver hair catching the light, molten eyes fixed on him with an expression far too warm for a warrior forged in war. "We did it," he said quietly. "Yes," she whispered, "and now what?" She stepped closer, slow, deliberate, as though approaching something fragile. "Now we continue," she murmured. "As partners, as equals, bound in purpose and in choice." Aaron swallowed. "Lyria, out of everyone in the galaxy, why me?" Her eyes softened with something bright and terrifying. "Because you saved my life with no expectation," she said. "Because you stood beside me when tradition demanded you run. Because you learned my world without abandoning your own. Because, somewhere in these 60 days, debt changed into something deeper." She hesitated, just long enough for him to feel the weight of her next words. "I stayed because I found belonging." Aaron felt something warm, fierce, and undeniable settle behind his ribs. "Yeah," he whispered, "me too." The twin suns climbed over Imberfall, lighting the salvage yard in gold and violet. Somewhere war talk would rise again, somewhere politics would spin wild theories, but here, in this dusty yard, a human salvager and a Karathi warrior stood together, bound by blade, by choice, and by something dangerously close to devotion. Aaron exhaled. "So," he said softly, "want to help me fix a plasma regulator?" Lyria blinked. You wish a blade-bonded partner to assist with salvage repair. I wish someone I trust to help me keep this